Winter Girlfriend is the greatest show in the history of everything ever. Of everything ever! Ha! Shocked ya. In a world filled with overwhelming negativity towards this anime, I'm taking a different route. Okay, in all seriousness, I don't want to spend a massive amount of time on the reception this series has gotten because, quite frankly, I don't really care, but I will say I believe this series is not as bad as you heard, and I actually think the main reason people hate on this show is because of the manga, which, last time I checked, has nothing to do with the anime! Yet. It has nothing to do with the anime. Yet. I will bring up actual problems with this anime that I noticed as I was watching, but overall, I think this series is overhated strictly because of the manga. I usually don't use the term guilty pleasure because I don't like feeling guilty for generally enjoying something, but it does fit here. I know this series is trashy, and I know this series can be embarrassing, but it's also the funniest thing of all time. Watch the first season video, of course. This would just be about the second season. Predictions and theories will be present, and enough talk. Let's get to the bottom of this large glass of god-tier ecchi trash.
It's so hard.
The season's main focus is on Chizuru's dream to become an actress, which was briefly mentioned before. The season really lays it all out there on just how much this dream means to her, which I'll discuss more in her character section. Kazuya wants to financially support her by constantly renting her out for dates. This establishes a clear motive for Kazuya to keep renting out Chizuru, which makes this whole winter girlfriend relationship a little bit more meaningful and easier to get behind. Later on, we learn that Chizuru's grandmother's condition has worsened in the hospital and her time may be running out. Since Chizuru's dream was to perform in a movie seen by her grandma, she rightfully begins to panic because with the way her acting career is turning out, that dream may not come true. This season, and it looks to be the next season as well, is about Chizuru trying to reach her dream while still trying to keep this winter girlfriend relationship with Kazuya a secret from both of their families. Of course, this is a drama, so similar hijinks from last season ensue. Renting Chizuru out every week when they promised Mami they wouldn't be together anymore will lead to some problems. And there's still Ruka, who routinely gets in the way, trying to make Kazuya fall for her instead of Chizuru. I'm beginning to realize everyone's problem with this story so far. It is incredibly slow-paced, even for a romance anime. Things happen in this show, but it ultimately leads us back to square one again, making it feel like we're just endlessly going in circles here. I was able to put up with it for the last season, but seeing this happen again for this season makes me fearful that this is just how the story progresses. You could argue this is part of the comedy, but it happens one too many times to be funny to me anymore. It's also worrying because, I mean, how many seasons is this going to get? We're talking about Winter Girlfriend here. I would like for this story to actually have an ending. Not saying there aren't notable developments in the cast or moments that evoke genuine drama, but every time it ends with Kazuya and Chizuru still being a fake couple. It gets a little tiring once you notice it. You can point to a series like Kaguya-sama doing something similar, but Kaguya and Shirogane actually had moments together that felt more direct, which made them feel closer as a couple. Outside of the fairy scene and maybe a few others, Kazuya and Chizuru haven't had many of those same moments that directly involved them, where they generally felt like they liked each other, which makes their relationship feel a little forced. Winter Girlfriend is entering its third season, and it still feels like it's at stage 1, whereas in Kaguya-sama Season 3, it actually felt like the right timing for the main couple to share that moment, despite all the bumps and misdirections it took to get there. And not being able to directly say you love someone is literally Kaguya-sama's whole gimmick. Yet somehow that couple feels more progressed than this couple. The ending to this season gave me hope, and I heard it's the most prominent arc in the series. I like the idea of Kazuya directing Chizuru's movie for her grandma. It's generally a sweet idea and shows just how much he's willing to do for her. And directing a movie can lead to some funny and romantic moments between the two. The thing that really bothers me about this story is that I really do see the potential here of a horny loser slowly growing into someone with more confidence due to the love he feels for someone else. And even though Chizuru seems out of his league, she generally loves him because he sees through all the horniness and other negative traits of his personality. He sees a sweet and brave kid that's willing to do anything for his friends. But this stop and go method of storytelling just keeps going, which makes it feel like any sort of development that does happen just leads to nowhere. It's almost like this series is relying on certain moments to carry its story rather than just consistently developing a story. That's not to say this story doesn't get me at some points, because man, it does. The drama here is some insane stuff at times and is honestly entertaining if you don't take it seriously. I just wish the story would move a little quicker and actually reach the potential I feel it is within its grasp. It just needs more consistent development with its characters and more consistent storytelling as a whole, rather than just stopping and going and only giving me moments of character development. Speaking of, as mentioned before in the previous segment, this show's storytelling stops and goes, and Kazuya's development is also kinda like that. Similar to last season, he has his moments where he stands up for himself or shows some actual spine. But at the end of the day, his growth is very minimal, if at all. Except for the lack of actual growth, I don't see the problem everyone has with Kazuya. Sure, he has his, cringe moments, and just saying that word already makes me feel like a bigger loser than Kazuya. To me, these cringe moments are what makes Kazuya's character. All he is an exaggerated version of a typical horny, sex-addicted teen, and these people can be cringy. He hasn't entered simp territory since the girl he loves actually likes him back, but he is astronomically down bad. I hope everyone understands all these internet slang words I'm using here. Yet hey, despite being desperate for any type of love and affection to the point that people categorize him as cringe, when it comes to Ruka, he actually stands his ground. He admits that he wants her for lust, but he doesn't actually love her. And this is for Ruka's sake as well, since he doesn't want her first time to happen in this polyamorous ass relationship. Say what you want about his honesty being cringe, he openly admitted to wanting to fuck her, but held back for his and her sake. I don't think a lot of people he's meant to represent would have done something like that in that scenario. This happens again after the kiss. He wants to break off the relationship for Ruka's sake because he's aware that this pushes her into a corner. It's Chizuru who gets in the way that time for her own reason. His self-awareness makes him not as annoying to follow, but at the same time, without any change, it can make him look even worse at times. This character needs to have more consistent changes in season 3. If so, we might have something here. For now, I personally don't find him embarrassing to watch. I actually find him funny a lot of the time, which I think is the point. I hope that's the point. It's just a little bit aggravating to watch all these developments that ultimately don't lead much of anywhere with his character, especially since he's self-aware of his problems. Still, I don't hate this character. Surprising, I know. I think he can be funny, and he has his moments where he can actually be a little sweet. I mean, that scene with Sumi actually warmed my heart. And hey, he's memorable, which is a hell of a lot more I can say for other harem protagonists. Being the main girl of the series, Chizuru has a lot to weight to carry, and for the most part, her character is actually pretty good now. Out of all the main girls, she feels the most like an actual person. She has a dream that she works her ass off to get, but every time, she fails, due to an issue all too common in the acting industry, not having connections. We learn about her family, how her grandma was a famous actress which led to her wanting to be one too, how she had no parents and how this mindset of you can accomplish anything if you work hard enough that she learned from her grandpa has been beaten into her for years. She's a character going through a lot, but is able to hide it all brilliantly due to, you know, being an actress. And actually a really good one at that. So when she finally breaks down and questions her now deceased grandpa's mindset, admittingly, it is quite powerful. She's worked the most out of anyone, and it's gotten her nowhere. Now her dream is in jeopardy. Soon she won't have a family to watch her anymore. This is not only a relatable feeling to anyone who's had a dream and heard this "all you need to do is work hard" speech before, but it's also a great way to give her depth, to make her feel more special than the other girls. This should really be a romance between Kazuya and Chizuru, yet Chizuru got outshined by a lot of the other girls in the first season. It was tough to see a reason for this rental relationship with Kazuya to exist for as long as it has. But now we see how much her dreams mean to her, and it's understandable. It improves Kazuya too. It gives him an actual selfless reason to keep renting out Chizuru. While I am a teeny bit fed up with the whole "I love you as a rented boyfriend" thing, this new development makes their relationship feel a lot more meaningful now. As a character, Chizuru is someone who feels like she's constantly acting, so when her authentic self comes out, it makes moments hit even harder. I just hope this series focuses more on them two, since their relationship still needs more fleshing out. With the making a movie premise, it's possible. That would be a hell of a lot easier to do if it wasn't for Ruka is still the obsessive quote-unquote girlfriend of Kazuya, who's desperately trying to get him to love her instead of Chizuru. Now while Ruka is typically a sweetheart, I can completely understand where Kazuya is coming from when he says he doesn't love her. Nobody wants someone this obsessed with you to the point it feels forced. It doesn't matter how much of a horny loser you are. At least most people. I've seen some of you out there. What's odd about Ruka's character at this point was I thought she said she was done trying to force things with Kazuya. Yet in this season, she's just as, if not more forceful in her approaches. I've seen some try and say that Kazuya should just end things with Chizuru and try with Ruka, which he has already tried to do before, but Ruka herself makes this difficult by constantly trying to force a feeling that isn't there. I mean, goddamn, I like you, Ruka, but he does not love you. Stop trying to fit a circle in a square-shaped hole. You've done everything besides basically force yourself onto... Holy shit, she actually did it. See what I mean, dude? These characters, they're wash, man. The drama, it gets you. Yeah, if he doesn't love you after that passionate, high-quality ass kiss, he's never gonna. It sucks, because I really do feel sympathy for her. Kazuya is the only one to make her feel any level of excitement, and any attempt to explain it away as just coincidence have been thwarted. He's the one in her eyes. Yet, it's just not meant to be. He does not feel the same way. Even if he tries to force it, it just doesn't work. I did find her funny at times though. Condoms in the bag is crazy. I will say this helps Kazuya's growth because he's actually standing his ground, defending his precious virginity for Chizuru. Virgin Shield, activate! But Ruka as a character is in a weird place. She's meant to feel forced in there and to be a problem for the main couple, but I have no idea how her story is going to reach a satisfying conclusion. You can't just have her move on due to the thing with her heart, but she isn't the main girl. She can't win Kazuya, so she just feels like a nuisance at times, constantly getting in the way of the main couple of the show. I like her personality and her look, and she is funny when trying to compete against Chizuru, but it's hard to see her as my favorite because of how forceful she's being. I much prefer... Sumi is actually fantastic. On the surface, yeah, she's an antisocial girl who seemingly also has feelings for Kazuya, but unlike Ruka, Sumi sees that he's in love with another girl, and instead of competing, she's silently cheering them on in the background, like the absolute sweetheart she is. The best part about Sumi is the fact that she barely talks, so her developments are purely visual, and when she does talk, it feels special. And due to her incredible voice acting, it really does sound like she's struggling to say the words that she desperately wants to say, which makes moments feel even bigger and also makes her kinda cute. Oddly enough, she and Kazuya have the best chemistry to me as a couple, and it makes me wish this series does a reverse and Sumi actually ends up with Kazuya. I mentioned before how Kazuya feels forced with Chizuru because it's a fake relationship, and how Ruka feels forced with Kazuya because of her obsessive love, but Sumi and Kazuya feel much more natural to me. Both are a little shy. Maybe it's because Kazuya has to take a lead role, but he also feels more like himself around Sumi. You really see that less embarrassing side of him, and you can actually kinda understand Sumi's feelings for him. They're close as friends. Sumi likely hasn't gotten that from someone of the opposite sex before. Kazuya seems to trust Sumi a fair bit. I don't know, to me this feels like the best couple, and them being together are the best parts of the series. The scene where Kazuya finally opens up to her about Chizuru is beautiful, and probably the best scene in the show so far. A show called Rent a Girlfriend actually had me emotionally invested. I do also have a preference for shy girls, so that could be another reason I just like this couple the most. As a character, Sumi didn't develop much, but I feel her and Kazuya's relationship was built greatly in this season. I would absolutely love for this show to feature more scenes of them being together. Mami is barely in this season, it feels like. Weird, because in the first season, she was the main driving force for any sort of plot progression or character development. Now she just feels like she's there. I think she likes Kazuya secretly, which Ruka alluded to in her rant. A love that not even Mami herself is aware of, because she keeps telling herself how much she hates him, and that might be where this jealousy comes from, since it does seem oddly similar to the jealousy a girl who's in love would have if the boy she loves kept constantly hanging out with other girls. But it's all just a theory, because Mami is so manipulative and mysterious, and the show doesn't really go into great detail about what her inner motives are. I was hoping to learn more about her situation on why she keeps getting boyfriends repeatedly, because it seems like there's something kind of dark going on there, but this season didn't even talk about it. Super disappointing, not gonna lie. I will say her slowly realizing the reality of the situation is pretty funny. That's about it. This is going to be a longer review. For fuck's sake, it's called Rent a Girlfriend. It doesn't need a 20-minute review, Timmy. Alright, the characters. Yeah, they're fine. Chizuru's character is obviously the one that gets focused on the most, and she's the best one by a mile. Even her reasoning to keep lying about her and Kazuya's relationship makes sense to me. She doesn't want her grandma to be worried about her on her final days. It's much better than the, well, it's complicated excuse she gave last season. It still has a lot of development to do before I say this cast are good characters entirely, especially with Ruka and Mami. At the moment, one is being annoying and the other feels so inconsequential that I legit forgot she was in the show. More developments on Chizuru and Kazuya as a couple would be greatly appreciated next season. More Sumi time would be good. Mami just being involved more. And Ruka being less forceful and more trying to win him over naturally would be nice. Kazuya also needs to show more signs of him overcoming his faults that he's aware of. Please. One of the best things about this series is just the production as a whole. That kiss scene especially was really smooth. I noticed some smoother transitions than last season. They kept the transition from the opening to the episode, which is lovely. I'm happy Kazumi Koga got another romance in Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible, because I think he has real talent that won't get noticed due to the negative reception around Rent a Girlfriend. I hope the rest of the staff get more romantic shows so they can shine as well. I noticed the colors were more vibrant at times, sometimes around the outskirts of a scene, which I don't think was in season 1 at all. The text is still there, which still gives the show a more unique charm to it. For a character like Sumi, it especially worked. The character designs are still really good. I didn't talk about Kappei at all in the last video. He's a really talented character designer that can perfectly reflect the designs from manga to anime. Super high quality stuff at times as well. And REIJI still nails the fashion sense in this series. Listen, I follow this man's Twitter account. He's a really good artist. You can't take that away from him. I still feel like he should pair up with an actual romance writer and only do the art, because honestly, this series would be amazing if it wasn't for his weird way of storytelling. He just doesn't get pacing, it seems. It showcases his art and sense of fashion beautifully in the opening scene of the season, which is essentially just a character recap. I mean, all of the poses and outfits just look stellar on these characters, and each look the characters go for expresses a part of their personality anime perfectly. It's an underrated aspect that adds a lot to the series in my opinion that Reiji completely understands as an artist. I don't know, maybe his wife helps him out, or maybe he grew up with sisters, or maybe he just knows a lot about women's fashion for some reason, but whatever it is, it works here, and Kappei displays it in the anime perfectly. Love the choices of color here. I originally wasn't a fan of the OP as much as the one before it, but it grew on me. It's not as energetic as the other one. The dance specifically isn't as fun to me, but it's still cute nonetheless. Oddly, I noticed the background tracks more this season. Specifically, they played this rock song whenever Mami is around, which is so contrasting to the actual scene, it made me laugh. The ending is also solid, but not as good as the Hauka one from last season. The visual of the girls cheering on Kazuya as she's shaking a Coke bottle is so lacking in subtlety that it fits the degenerate nature of the show beautifully. But you know, the ending here is still solid. I don't think I gave the voice acting enough props in my older video, like Kazuya's performance by Hori Shun. Thinking about it again, it might be why this character doesn't embarrass me when watching the anime. It's one of those performances I'd pay to see him voice in the studio because it just seems hilarious. Especially those random grunts Kazuya does at times. I will admit, seeing one of the most talented voices in anime, Rie Takahashi, voice a character who barely talks is another funny thing about the casting here. Hey, those little noises she makes are absolutely adorable, and as I said before, when she tries to talk, you can really hear Sumi struggle to get the words out. I think if anyone else had this character to voice, they wouldn't have incorporated that as well as Rie Takahashi does here. It really adds a lot to the character for me. Since we're on the topic, hey TMS, adopt that Sumi spin-off manga. I think the cast did a stellar job again. Aoyuki did good again. Due to Mami's lack of screen time, her performance wasn't as notable, but I just really love that sarcastic, positive tone she does. It's so perfect. It was a good move getting all the girls voiced by extremely popular voice actresses because I feel like it's another reason the show got as popular as it did when it first came out. It's a positive I will always see the show having no matter how long it goes on for. I will never read Rent-A Girlfriend. I have a hard enough time finding time for shows and manga I actually like. Do you really think I'm gonna waste my time on a series I know is paced awkwardly, that is constantly in a cycle, and that never had amazing writing to begin with? Especially since I'm starting to see those issues in the anime now. But in anime form, it's my guilty pleasure. I watch a lot of trashy shows, but something about Rent-A Girlfriend is so entertaining to watch and talk about. I can't really explain it. The character of Chizuru was built great, and if TMS and the rest of the gang decide to take a different route from the manga where we actually get an ending, then it's a pretty solid romantic comedy that works if you like degenerate shit like I do. I understand all the issues in the show, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, I just like it. Thank you all for watching this long-ass review on this weird-ass show. I'm Kikaya, and hey, don't be a weirdo loser. Maybe girls will actually pay attention to you. That's a tip from the sex god. I'll see y'all next time. You look like a Discord mod.